consider subset stuff. So, we'll say we are not going to talk about actually any of the hardware on the game systems. We're going to assume that either you bought an Arduino game system. We didn't really start. Hi.
Just giving the
okay, now we're officially starting.
preliminary info.
Welcome. This is the Pimp by Tetris-In-An-Altoids-Tin, making games and cases for Arduino game systems. We're going to talk about coding and case modding of Arduino game systems, not hardware or building anything. The idea is that it's MAGFest. We're into programming. We're into creating art and music with things. We're into making fan art things and props and cosplay. And there's plenty of Arduino do-it-yourself instructions out there that you could put it together without knowing anything electronics and just assemble it. You could buy it from someone. You could have someone on your team who actually makes the Arduino, and you're the one in charge of putting it in the case, or you're the one in charge of programming it. So we're just going to go briefly programming and mostly case modding, because the Arduino is great for case modding. Small, does everything for you, and easy to do. Just put it in a really nice case. So I'm John. I'm Joyce Weisbecker. I'm an game developer. I sold 7 video games way back in the day. I've got a BS in electrical engineering. Also got a BS in actuarial science and decision sciences. I got an MS in computer science. And in addition to analyzing big data, I design analog circuits for real-time target tracking. So I've done the embedded and the hardware things, and I've also done the big, cool stuff for commercial work.
And I'm Chris Todd. I'm a game artist in residence at American University. I'm also the head of the local IGDA, International Game Developer Association. To give you a little bit of background on me and the Arduino stuff, I come to it very much as a hobbyist. However, I am, in my game development research, really interested in sort of the potentials of this sort of do-it-yourself stuff and not responding to current technology, kind of crafting your own. So that's the spin I'm going to take on it, is sort of the development possibilities we now have at our fingertips by addressing this cool technology that's out there.
And Chris and I would say, okay, I really think that we are on the cusp of the indie hardware console.
I'm probably going to nerd out at some point on game computer and console history as well. So,
Now I'm going to cover all that because the Arduino makes it so much easier, and beginners won't realize how much easier it is unless I say what it used to be like to do video game programming. So, the Arduino is a hardware and software development platform. It's not just one product. It's software, hardware, it's the modules, it's the instructions, it's a new language, computer's language, for embedded microprocessor systems. It simplifies the whole process of building something and getting it included. Fortunately for us, 8-bit video game consoles are embedded microprocessor systems. They're not full-blown computers, there's no operating system, no cartridges, you don't have storage devices, and everything. Unfortunately, interactive museum exhibits, robots, and lots of other things are also embedded microprocessor development systems. So you have a problem when you put together a development platform for beginners. You assume they don't know any of the terminology from any of these industries that use it, but they want to learn it eventually. You just don't know which one they're interested in learning. So they got around that problem by inventing their own terminology for everything. So as we go through this presentation, I'm going to translate from 8-bit console speak to Arduino speak. And when I do programming things, I'm going to translate from C speak to Arduino speak, so that you'll get used to the new terminology in terms of that you should already be familiar with. Okay? And give you an idea what we're going to go through after I do the background is, as promised, and this is an Arduino Tetris-In-An-Altoids-Tin. I have brought an Altoids tin, just in case people are not familiar with how really cool you can fit all that into something small is. That's without changing anything, that's just the hardware you get. This is
you can easily talk over that if your mics are on.
space. Don't want to start with you.
That's good, because if they hear us really interfere with them
Yeah.
speaking, they get really more upset with us than we do. Okay, so this is an Arduino Tetris-In-An-Altoids-Tin, not to be confused with Altoids Tetris.
Which is what I just wrote on my sheet.
Right, and now some people will be looking for the wrong
See,
thing.
that's the entry level stuff. Though. That's the stuff that gets them in here, and then they're like, wait.
Right.
Well,
They're like, oh my god, this is amazing!
Microcontrollers? What?
This is what you do on the Zazzle. This is what you put on the T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's on the T-shirts.
It's also a subtle hint to tell the smelly nerds to brush your teeth.
Yeah. Hey.
So, in
Don't take it personally.
getting games, back in the day, on PC or other video games, you need sound. You had a sound blaster, or you had a Gravis ultrasound. And my shout out to the chiptunes people. Today, thanks to the Arduino, we have the Arduino Boy. Anyone familiar with this in the chiptunes? Trash 80 made this and goes with it. This is an Arduino device that plugs into your Game Boy and makes it a MIDI instrument. Arduinos are cool. And Trash 80 actually built this and uses it. So it's not like, you need to have 5 friends who are going to engineering school in order to make this for you. You can do it yourself. So that was my shout out to the chip play people. I also have a shout out to the Octopus and cosplayers. Mini. These are animatronic cat ears controlled by your head movement through the Arduino. Okay? Now, not only is it a shout out to the cosplayers in the park, but this actually is my first example of what I mean by case modding with an Arduino. So I've opened it up to you guys before I tell you what part of the video game has been case modded to make that. And the hint is the head movement controls how the ears move.
Look like Altoids.
Nunchuck. It's a Wii nunchuck. Stripped down and built into the cat. My idea, case modding!
Well, and actually,
Which is MAGFest is like the only place people go, oh yeah, as opposed to, oh man, I'm going to case modding. I just want the neon lights on my PC.
wanted to water cool.
Okay, so
Actually, water cooling is really cool, but that's more fun.
okay, so now that you know my take on case modding, there is a second case that has been modded with that.
Just use the microphone.
Okay?
Use the microphone.
I get nervous and shout. My grandfather was hard of hearing, so I get into
I
shock
think they also
mode.
They're
want
saying yell.
they also want it for the video, I think, too.
Yeah, I have
I
hard
did a
to
video on
get.
this, I would have been more complete. Then I won't shout.
Well, and actually,
So there is a second video game thing, not video game, that's the hit. It doesn't come from the video game world. There is a second device that is case modded to make this animatronic prop. Another hint, the head motion controller for the input device is case modded. The other one is an output device.
Go back.
Close. Motors, right?
Wait.
Okay, you want to shot at it?
Simple Lego thing.
RC car. Okay, so from the point of view of programming an animatronic cat ears for cosplay. From programming it, what you're dealing with is a Wii nunchuck that doesn't use the buttons, and there's a device driver for that you can download for the Arduino. And it is the output to it is controlling the motors in an RC car, and there are Arduino device drivers for all sorts of little motors. So the only coding you need to do is a routine that listens for the nunchuck to send signals to it that is being moved. And at that point, you send out a sequence of motor commands to the proper motor with the proper timing to get it to do something key.
and it should be mentioned that the Arduino starter kit comes with a lot of the parts for that thing. Like you get the accelerometer, you get
Right, they're not even an add-on price.
Yeah, like, so, you know, $100 starter kit. And the Arduino itself is like 30, 35 bucks. But, you know, then you get all these like parts and breadboard.
And even more important, there are actually step-by-step instructions all over the internet
Yeah.
for making the whole thing. So you're not even on your own on that, just with a picture of it or the idea of it. Okay, so how do you get that programming? Now we're into the program simply, smoothly into the programming part. So you have to write a little bit of code to actually get it behave right in response to how you're moving it. Now you could write a C program and compile it and burn along. That's the video game system way of doing things. However, it's much easier with the Arduino. The Arduino IDE integrated development environment comes with it. You can type in part of a C program. And when you go to compile it, one click says verify/compile. And if that comes back with no error messages, with one click that says upload, and it burns you on. And what it does, it takes a partial C program that you've written, and if you're missing the include statements, the function prototypes, and main, it will add those to it for you before it compiles. So you can't do the really fancy things because you won't know what to do. But if you're learning C, you can just write the functions. You write two functions: setup, which main runs first, and then a function called loop, which main will run in an infinite loop. So again, that's a restriction on it, but hey, you can live with that. You don't have to learn all the restrictions of C programming. You can just learn enough C programming to do the actual functions, and it'll take care of all the other stuff you have to do. Now, here's the terminology. The Arduino community calls that a sketch. So if you're learning sketch programming at processing.org, this is what they mean by a sketch. It is the guts of a C program, but it's not a complete C program. Okay? And they have tutorials to teach you that, so you can learn C gradually. The nice thing about the Arduino development system is, if you're already a C programmer, you can write a C program, use it with the Arduino IDE, because it looks through your project and says, oh, these sketches and these C programs, these header files, and these C++ programs, I want to compile all into one program. And it will do that for you. So even if you don't have a sketch and you have real C code, it will just compile that in one click. When it works, in one click, and it runs the system along. That's all there is to programming an Arduino. It's C code, and you can learn it piece by piece. Okay? Now, that's all there is. If you don't come from the video game world, you come from the video game world, you go, wait a minute, that's not all it is. You're just talking about where you go wrong. We haven't talked about where the ROM goes. There should be a cartridge somewhere. So first I want to know, who's familiar with terminology and who's not, so I know what to cover. Raise your hands if you've ever burned a new phone. Yes. I knew you'd show up. I knew you were out there. We're not numerous, but we are. Okay, and now raise your hand if you've ever created your own ROM image for an emulator. Yes. Oh. Okay. Raise your hand if you've ever used a ROM file with an emulator. So you know what I'm talking about. You need a ROM, right? This is better. I expect that.
It's a trap.
Okay. And now, raise your hand if you've ever actually put a part inside a video game console, like the game console, to play it.
H-test.
Okay, and anyone who has not raised their hand,
Who has ever blown in a cartridge?
anyone who has not raised their hand, don't worry, you can still stay. But please go straight down to the arcade and play an 8-bit video game so you know what you've been missing out on as soon as you leave here.
Mario 3 perfectly.
Yes.
Okay, so now we've covered everything we need to about, I'm sorry, the ROM. Where'd the ROM go? That's what it's simplified. You click on that upload button, and the IDE takes your ROM image and moves it to the Arduino. To simplify everything, the Arduino has what would be on the ROM card built into the motherboard. So you can only ever have one program at a time. You actually have to upload a different program and replace it. But you can build a cartridge-based system on top of it. It's just not what you get because they want to make it simple to get right into it. So the other simple thing is, if people have actually heard these problems, well, wait a minute, you've got an Arduino and a laptop and a cable, and you just sort of burn a ROM, there's something missing there. Well, yes. What happens is when you buy an Arduino, the controller has, they replace the EEPROM with flash memory. That lets you do it software if you have a bootloader. So when you buy an Arduino, they have preloaded a bootloader on the microcontroller for you. So you can use AVR2 and just send it down to a dog bird. The great thing about that is if you're doing serious hardware, you can take an Atmel, if you're microprocessor with microcontroller, you can take an Tindie, so it's machine code compatible. You can burn the images you create with the IDE and actually burn it to an 18-minute, an 18-tiny chip, and then put it into your project. You can put the whole Arduino kit again. You get that. You can get software that downloads the bootloader to it, or you can burn your own bootloader, and then when you change it, you can use the IDE, or you can use AVR2 program by itself to do it. Okay? So I just want to give people an idea that it used to be a lot more you had to fiddle with, a lot more you had to learn, than it is now. And you might say, oh, wait a minute. When I program for these for parts, I have parts that have a ROM, a RAM, and a battery. So I can save games. That's Forza. You can do that. It's built into the motherboard of Arduino. It has a little bit non-volatile RAM. So you can actually, while you're running your code, write to it and it will stay without a battery. Again, built into the motherboard. So it's made to emulate an 8-bit console with very little visual stuff. That's all we're going to do about programming. Okay? And now we're back to case model. Okay?
Yay, the art card.
Well, the stuff that makes it worthwhile learning to do all the hardware and the software part is the end product to show people that's way more than a box and a screen that plays it. And people say, I've already done that before. What did you do? Well, I learned how to do it all. Okay, that's not that impressive. So, back to an Arduino in an Altoids case. Here's the primitive bits. You also need, first of all, to enjoy these projects, you need toolkit boxes. So here are toolboxes. Again, it's all open source. You can download the files from the circuit boards and modify them or create them yourself. You can download the device driver source code. You can download example code for doing all these projects. And you can download online are instructions and files for 3D printing plastic cases that are nice toolboxes exactly fit your Arduino project. This is one of the ones that you just have to cut out the plastic and mod a case. Notice the Altoids-Tin uses small parts. This is the Lego case for your Arduino. Now this is lab case. This is a 3D printed case that you can buy online. And you notice it has drawers for the plastic.
You have to ask this little question. Is Legos the plastics? Is the Arduino kits are not that advanced?
These are toolboxes.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you put, hot things in them too quickly. Yeah, that we can get to the real case, the commercial cases.
But you don't need to heat sink an Arduino, is what it's.
No. Yeah. It's not. It isn't powerful enough to worry about that,
They're like
There's no
one
one-
meter
there's no-
stops and-
There's no macro processors, there's no graphics processors, there's nothing running fast, there's nothing running hot. Yeah, but it's a good question because the reason 8-bit consoles are in large, airy boxes is not because they need all that cooling. It's because the parts really aren't big. You want miniaturization of them, and a lot of things are hand soldered together. So they just are big.
I'll add a concern, static electricity. Legos are kind of staticky, is that
Yeah,
a
I
problem?
haven't looked into that.
Do you usually just space it out and kind of play it safe and?
Well, again, there's really nothing on it that's very sensitive.
Yeah,
You know, they're used in industrial settings. The whole reason it's a toothpick
right,
is so you can embed it into
right.
things that are in all sorts of environments. So, but again,
Embedded systems.
you learn
are fancy
gradually if
stuff.
you're interested in the hardware design, you look it up. And if you're in the mechanical engineering of real cases and like military rugged cases or putting it into an automobile or into a dirt bike or something, and you really need to find what you need to do to protect it in that kind of environment, that is on there. I just want to show for design work,
Yeah.
you notice each piece is a different color. That's so that you don't need an instruction manual or a lot of text when you put it in the catalog. You can see that it has openings, drawers, it folds up, because each section is a different color. This is what it looks like in all white, which pretty much means a page description in a catalog to explain what you're getting, how many drawers, and all, because they're all the same color. It's the exact same device. This is a different one. This is the 3D printed case you can buy. It's got, again, the Altoids-Tin behind the spare part, which in this wall, there's a cup underneath there where the bands are holding it closed inside. And those hinges, you can buy additional hinges so that when you stack on more bookwards, Arduino terminology again, a shield is an additional printed circuit board that is exactly the same size as an Arduino motherboard, an Arduino base system is, and is actually meant to be mounted and stacked on top of it and connected that way. So that's what a shield is. It's a specific kind of printed circuit board that's stackable. Well, if you're putting your project in a print case, you don't want to unstack it from different boards, you want to leave it stacked. You buy more of those links, and then when the case folds over, it's coupled.
So the shields can do a lot of different functions. So one thing that you, so when you're dealing with Arduinos, the reason you get an Arduino is because, like the cat ears, you want to use, you want to read some different type of input. Now, so like the cat ear thing, that uses a Wii accelerometer type thing. But you could, for example, a really popular project they do online is they have a sort of flower, like a plant, water reminder. So like you can take two, or you can take a moisture sensor that you can buy, plug that into the Arduino, write some code to have the Arduinos like get information from the moisture sensor, and then have that output to either lights or a program on your screen or something to that effect, where it'll give you a status update of how much water your ficus tree has and things like that. So when you get into the shields, those are additional options for functionality. So one thing that you can do with a shield is Bluetooth. So you could have an Arduino be attached to some sensors and then have that send out Bluetooth information to your phone, and then suddenly you've created a custom game controller for your phone. So you could have the game where you need to make sure you water your ficus tree, or else the little character on your screen is going to die. So you could do all kinds of different things.
You're talking about augmented reality Tamagotchi.
Yes.
Not
Not even augmented
I
reality.
like this guy.
Real Tamagotchi. But with a digital piece instead of just, your plan stick. Yeah, tree plays Pokemon. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Tree plays Pokemon.
It can grow fast.
Yeah, put that on Twitch, and then suddenly you have everybody in the chat room. Tree.
And Chris picks up another part of Arduino's suite, okay? A shield
Yes.
and a sensor. Now, we call them daughter boards, like when you plug in more memory on a little printed circuit board or the graphics card and actually plug in the motherboard, they call it a shield. And it's a printed circuit board that's meant to actually stack on top of the exact same size as the base Arduino. And the other thing is sensors. We tend to say controller, because we only have one input device. We want to get some action in there communicating to our video game. But technically, it's a sensor. It senses where you're pointing the mouse, where you're moving the mouse, how you're tilting the accelerometer, where you're pushing a button. It's a sensor. So Arduino uses the generic term any sensor for an input device. And we can make a controller out of all sorts of other sensors that are out there.
An input device.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Well, they don't use input device because that's
Well,
too IT specific.
Yeah,
I don't think people who interact with these displays refer to them as input devices. So again, we need something, some new term
yeah.
that doesn't say, oh, we can only do things for that industry.
Yeah.
Which makes it a little confusing for us, which is why I wanted to hear this for is, what are the terms we're used to seeing in video game consoles? And what's the equivalent Arduino term? Okay, so these are the systems that are built. This is a shield called Haptic, and let's see, let's make sure. Okay, black and white VGA out, audio, nunchuck, and Super NES controller. Yep. Connectors built into it. Plugs right into the Arduino. Software is already available to drive. Video game shield, another shield that does the same thing except instead of a connector for a Super NES controller to an NES controller, plus all the other stuff. And this is an example of two of the games written. One is, they call that Adventure, which is a Zelda-like, and Poopy Adventure, which is not actually an adventure, it's a console. And not pictured because it doesn't really look like anything, is the Gamebuino 2. It doesn't make a good picture, but it's the coolest one. It's just the touch-sensitive display panel. And underneath is the little video game shield that controls it and plugs the whole thing right into the Arduino base system. So it's built into the back of your touch screen, and it has not only touch screen and colors, it has a video graphics card made for 2D and sprite and tile-based animation accelerator, and it fakes 24-bit color. So you don't spend all the RAM and all the time sending 24-bit color, but it dithers it for you at some pixel level to blend the colors when you send it out, and it's got the software routines that do that for you. So you can get the impression of 24-bit color instead of just 8-bit color. Really cool stuff, and I think it's like $70 that you can start for it right now. And now, for systems in, now, the Arduino Esplora is meant to be a complete handheld game system. As you can see, it just doesn't have the case, but you're stuck with that form factor. The Gamebuino is a complete system built around an Arduino, case and everything, that does Game Boy, plays Game Boy games. And there is actually a Gamebuino Chip 8 emulator. Because when I was doing embedded design and using a Arduino kit, it was a cosmetic emulator. And the hello world of embedded is turning on and blinking LED.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is the hello world.
That's how you start with it. It's like this.
You load that and make sure the little white blinks, and now the program works. You're there, that's the people come with you. This is the Arduboy business card. Okay? It's beautiful case design. This guy did a great job. It's a business card size. It plays Game Boy games. And it has an Arduino in it. Again, you don't have to use the whole Arduino motor board. If you really know what you're doing with hardware, you can just prototype with it, and then you can just take the parts that went on the board and actually put the parts anywhere you need, and you can get the tiny little surface mount equivalent parts and build your own from scratch.
Is that the battery that runs the thing?
Yep.
Now, the sad thing about this from the case design point of view is this was a prototype. He went out, he got funding, he's now got it available for sale, mass-produced on Tindie, which, as I understand, is sort of like Etsy for high tech. Okay, and this is the result. That's what you can buy as the commercial product compared to the prototype that he did. Why in the world would you take that beautiful case and say, well, if you order it, we'll give you this green thing? And that should be the prototype. I mean, if you're one of those nice cases, why isn't he making cases commercially? Again, design is everything. If people, say, oh, you're just doing a case for it. Crappy cases don't look like it's worth buying and it's really cool. Really nice case, say, oh, I wonder what that does.
I think it was different
And, you know, those buttons don't look like they can actually press on them very much.
Yes.
So in terms of, it looks cool, certainly, but does it actually?
It is not meant to be played. It is meant to be a business card. The credits are your business card and contact information. The fact that you can play a game is a bonus.
I see.
So it's an advertising piece.
You know, that would
Don't
be-
make your game too hard.
Which again, I don't understand why the Tindie version looks like that.
You know, that would be a great little Bitcoin bang. You won the game, here's $2.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a question over here.
You know the sensibles on the bottom of that?
Yes, they are pins to connect something else. But I didn't pull out on the spec or I was doing things.
Or did you play it?
Yes. Because it built into the Arduino is I2C and SPI. Anything else? you want to put on? Okay, so back to Altoids. This is a modded case. Now, this is not an Arduino. This is one of those 251 LCD games that they were selling years ago. So he said, when you open it up, there's really not much inside the whole case. So I figured I can fit it into an Altoids case. But what he had to do was cut out all the audio stuff, the speakers and everything to get it to fit. And what he did was he took the back of an Altoids case and cut the holes in it, put the little controller things from the Nintendo controller, and painted the case white. So that when you close it up, people think you have an Altoids tin, and when you turn it around, it looks like the Gamebuino going games. But this is where we were with case modding. You had to take an existing system and just make a new case for it. You couldn't just start from scratch and design something you wanted and make a custom case for it, which is what the Arduino brings the system.
Those things have the sound and
That's why he didn't miss it. And this is the unmodded case. Okay, right, which, again, for case designer, you're actually going to have someone make a plastic case. You think you would spend a little more time and get someone who actually would make a cool looking case at least.
Well, in the 90s, that's what we all thought.
Straight out of the spine with that tech.
Actually, it looks like controlling the periscope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the cell phone that was a game console? It was like taco?
Yeah.
And
And you hold it
The
against your
engine.
head. You hold a taco against your head to talk on the phone.
Size hog.
And
Seriously.
And
Yeah.
Oh.
cabinets you can buy. There's the mini game, arcade, there's a little mini cabinet that you can build your own games into.
Yeah.
Again, not playable, but it's a nice game.
I've seen full-size arcade systems done with computers.
Oh, yeah.
They've done like a full cabinet.
But this has a nice little,
Oh, yeah.
gift on the Christmas tree. You can make a little town on your Christmas tree or a railroad. You can have people, you can have your little 3-inch action figures hanging out. Yeah, the 3-inch tree. You can have them hanging out in the arcade.
We've come so far in terms of gamer acceptance into society when they become parts of Christmas villages.
And of course, another case mod is wearables, the Tetris T-Shirt. And again, from the point of view of playability, shouldn't you do what my nephew did the first time we bought him a little pin for his favorite cartoon character at an amusement park? And he was 3 years old, and he put it here, and looked at it, and put it here, and he put it here, and he put it, and when he was done, he pinned it to his thigh just above his knee so he could look at it when he's walking along. And I thought, yes, that's what you want. You want your joy so you can see it, not just so the other people can. Don't you want your Tetris T-shirt upside down so you can actually play it? Right, so, but I would do it so it falls up so I can play it. One time in one. Wearables are getting really hot for a real career in real fashion. This week at Fashion Week, Samsung and Intel both sponsored fashion houses to make wearable high-tech gear. Samsung had one of their watches built into a very big enamel bangle bracelet, and Samsung and Intel, one of them, Ralph Lauren Polo, premiered a shirt that has the silver conductive thread built into it. It's the heart monitor built into the compression shirt with the monitor pack as a separate thing so you can monitor the shirt. And it's not the release of the thing. He said by spring there will be a commercial version of a polo shirt that has the smartwatch built into it and monitors it.
How will they fare when you go through TSA scanning?
I don't know, silver probably was okay. Unfortunately, there's no silver coins in circulation, so
We're gonna
you're
make it-
constantly
yeah.
setting off the things with silver, but I
They're gonna make you take it off.
Well, I'm sure they're gonna, I'm sure they'll take that.
they do medical equipment now. I have a friend I travel with, and he's on a diabetic pump, and he always has to go through
Yeah.
the individual search to show that the only thing going off is his embedded pump.
You might get a lot of complaints from people whose heart rate goes up.
Yeah.
Say, notice.
And of course, the case law for the holidays, Pumpktris, wireless control of your Tetris in your jacket.
It's pretty hard to play though, because it's pretty cardboard on the.
Well, I guess this is
Expert.
this is like the core version. There's plenty of people who are playing Tetris on strings of LEDs hung from their garage.
Yeah.
And as a holiday display or a birthday party display where you come around and actually play Tetris hung in a curtain of LEDs.
Or on buildings and buildings.
And right,
Yeah, yeah.
MIT had the buildings actually put the LEDs
Yeah.
mounted on the windows. Okay, and it's not just Tetris they put in Altoids-Tin. They put Simon in where you do the sequence and you have to repeat the sequence and it makes it longer. And of course, another case model for that is Simon the Octopus, which again, I consider interactive toys just case modding on these games. I don't think it's a whole new discipline they have to do. It's just new cases. And of course, this requires sewing. Now, I don't sew. I knit and crochet, and I'm into steampunk. So, see where I'm going with this? I would knit Cthulhu. And when Cthulhu says, you better do it. Or the backstory, the way you summon Cthulhu is you get a long enough sequence, and you open the gate, and the ancient one is coming through.
And then we get to Tetris.
Right, and then you can play Tetris on it. Just switch Tetris in his eyes.
It's an unlock.
All of these Tetris stories, if you say Tetris is the Arduino and Doom was the Tetris computer.
Yes, because the whole thing of Doom was every vendor of a screen, of a CRT, wanted to show how good quality it was and how fast it responded. So the fastest game was Doom, and it was free. So you could run it displaying. So whether you could actually play in the store or not, I didn't go to a PC show that didn't have walls. You know, like if you go into a department store and look at the TVs and they got whatever sport is on.
The modern equivalent is does it play Crisis?
It was showing off the hardware. This is showing off your skills you put into a case, and it's like it's already written, so you just download the code and put it in it.
Just as an aside, they do those things for wearables called the Lily Pad.
Yes, it's a round
Oh,
Arduino
yeah.
base.
Can I get the name of the Arduino you can display?
Yes,
the module?
Gamebuino.
Game.
And so we've been segued into, I couldn't find a lot of anime, so I found plenty of steampunk because the whole idea of putting tech into something, into a product is more steampunk than anime. So, with anime, in the steampunk. So I found some steampunk Arduinos. This is geocaching. This is a compass of when you set it to point a certain direction, it always points that direction no matter how you move the box. And this is Arduino based. This is the Steampunk smartwatch. It's a heart monitor. It also plays, since it's Arduino based, it also plays a video game on it, not just being a heart monitor. And the Steampunk Breathalyzer, back to the Altoids-Tin, but you get a really cool Altoids-Tin and it's steampunk.
So the other thing that I should mention, now I can say it, is that one of the sensors that they have for the Arduino is a breathalyzer. So, again, the input possibilities for these things are really vast.
That has no output. It communicates with your Android phone.
Yeah.
Again, just another shield, just another pre-made printed circuit board that you plug in your basic Arduino, and the code is already there to use it. And we'll just close up with some other cool examples of steampunk, like just like steampunk. And we have to put robots in when we talk Arduino, so steampunk robot. And this other one is like really cool. This is like really old school. Remember, you guys probably don't, because there's no line printers and ASCII. You have like laser printers and everything now. But Banner, the basic program that when you type something, it printed out sideways large characters on a line printer and you made a banner. This is the steampunk version. Whatever you type in, it hand writes. Each thing is told to do, it's a guy who does interactive sculptures. And I thought, yes, we have to end with it. We're going from, it's easier than it used to be. We have to end with, you can even build your own handwritten banner program with an Arduino. And this was by an artist. This is what he considers an interactive art installation. What you get is what the sketch and processing movement is all for. You don't have to think of yourself as a person who wants to get into programming, wants to get into hardware, wants to get into game design, wants to get into industrial design of cases. You can think of yourself as a person who just like really cool stuff that actually works and can be interacted with.
So, and you know, I want to leave some time for some Q&A, but coming as a game designer, what I really find interesting about this whole Arduino movement that's been going on for a long time is that, and again, I already said I would talk about sort of like the game history aspect of this. So we're used to, in the US, this sort of like the corporation makes the game and we buy it and it comes in a box and it's pre-made and we love them. You know, those are great. You know, there's a lot of great games that are like that. In other parts of the world, that was not how it was done. So, for example, I bring up British computers a lot when we talk about this sort of DIY spirit of game development. Yeah, so there was this computer company in the early 80s in the UK called Sinclair, started by Clive Sinclair, and he created this computer, really the ZX series, but the most famous one you hear about is called the ZX Spectrum. And it had, it was so cheap because it had some cheaper parts, but you also bought it as a kit, and then you put the computer together, and then you program BASIC on it. And then what happened was, this became a sort of subculture industry of bedroom programmers. So even like indie before it was really indie. You know, so bedroom programmers would make games on their spectrum, you know, and then either send them to magazines, send the programs to magazines so that somebody could buy the magazine, write the program on their spectrum, and then play your game. Or, you know, a couple game developers actually got started this way. So the Oliver twins and their game, Dizzy, the cartoon adventure. If anybody watches Zero Punctuation, Yahtzee talks about Dizzy a lot. Like, you'll see him pop up every once in a while. He was this egg that would, like, tumble sideways. So, but this was kind of the subculture, was this sort of DIY, build your own computer and then make your own games kind of thing. And what I find really interesting about this, about Raspberry Pi, which is another British computer, is this sort of put it all together and form your own tool. Like I said, you know, one of the popular ones that you see on websites is the Plant Babysitter project for Arduino. But again, take that idea and do the Plant Plays Pokemon sort of thing, where you can start to figure out how this turns into game designs. And you know, the case modding thing really interests me because you know that Octopus stuffed animal, the Octopus plushie is like the coolest thing, and that could be a game controller. So another bit of
and the game board could be a plush box.
Exactly. So another thing that I deal with in my research is game verbs. And you know, we talk about game verbs as way to do persuasive games and things like that. You know, I gave a talk at the Games for Change conference in April about game verbs. I did a workshop, and you know, that was when I really started playing around with my Arduino kit, and I almost like broke the talk because suddenly we were doing all this research about like oh, well, what are the verbs of mobile devices? What are the verbs of a PC? And then I'm like doing my Arduino stuff, and then I email my collaborators and like, guys, I think I broke my brain on game verbs, because I found all of them. Because you can take any sensor, anything, and make that game input. There was this project on Kickstarter called a Makey that was like even simpler than the Arduino. I mean, simplicity always comes with a little bit, and Arduino doesn't have this much, but simplicity often comes with like less control, and that's kind of what the Makey had a little bit.
This does too if you know hardware
Yeah.
and you know software. It has
Yeah.
issues. But considering you only working with 2K
Yeah,
of ramps and 32K of ROM,
yeah,
you really can't do anything that requires more than the basics in most cases unless you really
yeah,
get tricky with it, and then you're really advanced anyway.
yeah. Well, and like I have a friend who's in electrical engineering. He uses Arduinos all the time. They buy them by the gross and use them to prototype. So you know, they're there for a reason. But you know, the Makey was like you alligator clip it to
And that's the thing.
any conductive thing. Like on the video, they had basically it's set up to be an NES controller. So they had everything hooked up to an NES emulator of Super Mario Brothers. So they alligator clipped all the input things for all the NES pieces to a bunch of bananas. So people are like playing Super Mario Brothers by like touching bananas on a table, and then they put them in buckets of water. So they were like DDRing buckets of water, like splashing with their feet in these buckets and playing Super Mario Brothers. So that's like the super simple version. But take that idea of I can change how input works on design, and suddenly you can, and again it goes into the idea of case modding, you can create essentially your own game console. And then if you get in, and there are plenty of simple game engines out there that allow you to do all kinds of stuff in all kinds of, like deliver games to all kinds of platforms. HTML5 games, if you can get a thing, if you can get a web browser on the thing that you're going to put your game on,
I love that. I'm so glad you're on the panel because that's you're working on a vocabulary for games.
Yeah.
Okay, game design and game critique. And when I did a presentation, it was so important to me to say, okay, it is important for creative people to have a more broad term for the things they do. So you're not restricted in thinking of it as a controller. It is a sensor, it is an input device. It is something that when you do something to it, it changes something and it communicates that to the computer.
Well,
An output device doesn't have to be a display. It doesn't have to be a motor. Just because it's a motor doesn't have to control a car. Okay? An output device is a motor. You have to learn to use the broader terminology. I like to say, not design interactive toys and museum displays. I like to say case modding.
Yep.
Because when you look at the guns and you're building, if you understand the insides of it, it's just a different case.
Well, and I think this.
If you say I'm designing interactive toys, oh man, who I have to learn to design interactive toys?
Yeah. Well, think about this too, is that, games are not, we think about these as video games, and this has been our current theme on some of the panels that we've had this afternoon, but thinking of games not just as video games that are played on a screen, but games that are, an interesting thing that happens in my game history classes is that we will play the game Tennis for Two. So, for those who aren't familiar, Tetris for Two was one of the first, sort of proto-video games, and it was created on an oscilloscope for Visitors' Day at this nuclear facility in the 50s where everybody kind of hated the tour anyway. So they're like, oh, we're going to make this tennis game on an oscilloscope. So I have students play this. Now, it's bare bones.
It's pop, come on.
It's before. I mean, it doesn't even have some of the luxury items Pong has, like scorekeepers. And that's the one that really gets me because I'll have students play it and they'll be like, well, so who won? And I'm like, you weren't counting.
And this was on like $100,000 worth of equipment.
Yes.
To do that too. So
Yeah.
and no one had done it before. So it's just impressive enough that you
Well,
These days, oh, of course you can do things like that. Not then.
and the trick, though, is that if you go and play outside, you're going to keep score. But so here's the cool part about these is that you get the outside. You get like this idea where you can take this digital component, which can let you do some cool stuff like video gamey things with sensors. You know, maybe you create a game of Assassin with Arduinos. You know, everybody has like some little thing with them. I mean, actually, I think there is something like that where it is actually an Arduino printed to be a tag that you hang like around your neck, like we have these printed, right? So, you know, you can do these interesting creative games where, oh, I came up to you and put the tag next to yours and like suddenly the red LED went off. You know, that's feedback. So, you know, it goes into that whole like, we don't have to think about the things that video games have, like with, you know, Tetris 2. We can go and be like, we can have this visual language apparent through a device and a case mod, and then just set up a rules for what that red light means. And suddenly, guess what? It's a game. Yeah.
In fact, does anyone remember the MAGFest badges that were printed circuit boards?
Yeah.
You can actually program those, like they're real boards.
Yeah.
And Charles Moore put instructions up on his.
In the future, it may be
So-
Arduino Esplora.
Well, he already uses Atmega, so it's pretty much the same thing.
And you were talking about paper prototyping before we were talking about paper prototyping. There is a paper Guido.
Yes.
There are the plans online to build an Arduino board with conductive ink and paper, and it works.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to reimagine and be more flexible what you consider the motherboard and the hardware part. The hardware doesn't have to really be that hard.
Yeah.
So again, as new technology comes out, you can do it yourself.
Completely unrelated. That made me think of this one from Star Runner cartoon a while back, where it's like, no, this is a hard disk, this is a floppy disk. But they're both floppy disks, but one is the little small floppy disk.
With the case, yes.
Yeah.
It's not floppy anymore.
No. Are there any questions? Because we're
And also, I would like to hear, if anyone has any ideas for things they would like to do with it and want to ask us if it's something we can actually do with an Arduino, because there is a more complicated Arduino system that actually uses an ARM, 3-gigabit ARM, which is what you put in a cell phone. So much more powerful, but much more complicated to learn to do, not as simple as this. So,
Which one is it?
the Arduino Duo.
Okay.
So you can, have an easier way to get into ARM programming and 3-gigabit programming, but it's not as easy as the 8-bit system. That, and just remember, Eric Ruth can do lots of things with tile-based games.
Oh, yeah.
So when you say, I don't know, can I do that on tile-based games?
Oh, yeah.
Ask Eric Ruth.
Well, I mean, really, the game engine that I use for like my when I do stuff by myself with no programmer, the Construct 2, it's tiles. I mean, that's really, it's really just like painting tiles. And if anybody needs any inspiration, go look at the tile sets for Plaster Master. They're awesome. And they break like the squareness of tiles. It's fantastic.
So will anyone want to bounce ideas off us?
I think it's the last panel of the night too, so we have it forever.
So I have this gratitude project. It's my idea so far, brand new, is creating a haptic feedback game controller suit. When I really say suit, it doesn't have to be like one piece situation. And I'm thinking about gloves. Like I know there's gloves kind of out there. Okay.
Yeah.
You might be interested in looking into an article on engineering society publication. Recently they had an article on learning to play the piano with a haptic glove, and it buzzes for which key comes next. And when people practice with that, they instinctively and start to anticipate when they're going to get buzzed, and they learn the tune faster than if they're trying to read the notes. So you might want to see the kind of gloves they use, the kind of devices they're using with that. So yeah, essentially it's a little rumble back in each finger.
And it says
Yeah, there's an article, and then I took the spec. But you Google the, it was floating the piano, and it's a, and they were teaching typing with it, the thing with the piano. And the idea is that instead of, you know how on NES you had the typing tutor that for the ducks, and you shot the ducks off, and you drop the notes off as you hit the right notes, hoping you just, stop looking at the keyboard and get the keyboard, I know it's like, and just sort of memorize the keyboard as they move faster. And it's like, so this is even more effective, because what it does is it just buzzes each finger as it's time for you to move that finger and hit the chord. And after a while doing that, you start to anticipate it, and you've learned the chords. And that kind of device that's already available with software written for it sounds like a starting point for the kinds of things you might want to do. Is move faster during one semester or 1 year than otherwise.
That sounds a lot like software.
Well, it's not aversion therapy, it's attraction therapy.
Yeah.
It's rewarding you for getting it right. But instead of like the little sound is right, where you see the note get hit, like the ducks are on a line, it's positive feedback. Yeah, I anticipated I was there. You didn't have to remind me. So it's sort of like a nagging kind of thing. No, I didn't before you already told me.
If anybody's really interested in, and they're not all done with Arduino, but really interesting ideas of like game, like some out-of-the-box game. Your statement about shock therapy made me think of it, because he also does a game where, like, if you're playing Tekken and you get hit in place, like it shocks you there. But the work of Guido Stern, he's a game academic and developer. I can't remember where he is. Do you remember where he's based? Okay. I think he's at USC. But he does some cool stuff. He has a game where you talk, like you wear a mask and you're pretending to be, the guy from like the Waco compound. Dave Koresh. So you're like learning about that event by wearing a David Koresh mask and like employing because he was a good, like he could convince anybody of anything.
Oh, he's social engineered his way right in and took enough people on his slides guns.
Yeah, so
Hitler took over.
So the mask is that you're you would talk into the mask, and that's how you activate your superpowers in the game. He also does this this interactive projection play, like outdoor theater game. It's really cool, but yeah, I would definitely check out his work as well to see some of those really out of the box.
And a lot of art installations too.
Yeah. What?
UCLA.
UCLA, I think.
Yeah, just remember, 2K of RAM and 32K of ROM memory doesn't sound like a lot, but all the games you're playing, remember, use that. And remember how slow the emulators were on Windows 95? We were on Pentium. Because, you're taking thousands of dollars of high-tech and huge amounts of RAM and fast processors with floating point operations and GPUs, and it's still dog slow compared to a really slow processor with a limited amount of memory that's directly executing custom-made machine instructions without all the overhead and load. So you can do a lot with interactive things in simple games. You're not even going to come close right now. Pretty much it's the sound and it's the display that takes up most of the memory of these videos.
Well, and it's like I was saying to you before, and said in like the one previous panel that I was on with Josh, is when you get into smaller game development, I read authors that talk about their games and they're like, wow, there's a lot of good design that went into these. And then you find out that their games are 3 minutes long because they're one person making a video game, and surprise, game development's hard. But then you realize, like, well, if there's so much good design that can be found in these 3-minute games, then why am I stressing out thinking I need to make this big thing? Why don't I just start making little things? Suddenly you're free to do some of this experimentation, and then yeah, you can do these very simple games that have some very interesting ways of interacting with them. And then that gets attention. And hey, by the way, guess what? When you can take them to places and people play within 3 minutes and they get it.
And if people really happy to work with you to do additional levels, to expand the world, just to find out how you do.
Yeah.
I will apprentice to you.
This would be a great game jam idea. It's like actually do some build up to, you know, like how to do some of this Arduino stuff and then unleash it on a game jam or something. That'd be great. So what do you think? And again, like this goes into, and one last point from me, but because I realize we're over time, we get some extra flex room. This is to me a good complement to like what we saw with the Ouya, which, you know, for all the, I mean, it didn't really take off financially, but philosophically it was a great success because now you see all these other big console makers opening up their indie markets, not to the exact degree, but still being like, okay, people responded to that pretty well, we should do something about it. You know, so think about that in terms of that kind of, you know, DIY game console that you can hack the crap out of. You know, that brings whole new light to it because if you kind of spread this idea of like, this is important and warrants looking at and using it, then suddenly people might be, you know, people might, maybe whatever comes along next, maybe people make their own stuff. But that's something that I think really could take, it could popularize being a, not just a game consumer, but a game creator. And that line is blurring up a lot now, because it's not hard to get into game development. Making big games is hard, but you can get into it very easily with what's out there.
I wanted to ask, what is the base board for a lot of other stuff you showed?
It's an Atmel, like process families.
Which Arduino?
Oh, Arduino, or one of the more modern ones is essentially an Arduino Uno, but with, you know, more features.
I'm kind of kicking myself.
Exactly. Unless you go to an Arduino Duo, then you're moving to a 32-bit ARM processor instead of a 8-bit.
So Windows use this,
It's a motherboard. It's a motherboard. You add graphics cards to it, you add displays to it, you add a Zigbee, you add Bluetooth to it. Again, the whole idea of the shield is if you have printed circuit board modules made that exactly plug in to the base system and each other, then you don't have to worry about having non-standard connectors and things. Because you plug into the first, everything has to be able to plug in to the base Arduino system. And after that, if you need something specialized on it, you can add a connector for something else to plug into that, like a certain video touchscreen or something.
so the new one is that we plug in.
It's only hardware. It's only how much power it pulls. It's only where you put the connectors. And remember, things are really, I mean, they may be small boards, but parts are really small. You can get a whole lot of stuff on one printed circuit board these days. So if you see something you need features from one or features from the other, the printed circuit board layouts and all the documents are available. You can edit them and make one board on a standard size yourself. And that's all the parts you need on it. And that's what people do. It's a whole new world of custom console. I mean, if you want to take a 32-bit ARM and make something high-end out of it that does like, you know, AAA first-person shooters, you can design a shield that's got 3 GPUs on it if you want to, and do parallel processing just of the graphics. You can have triple buffering with 3 different GPUs if you can do the hardware and if you can write the software for it. There's nothing stopping you from learning how to do that part because all the rest of the base starting point is available to you and you can build on top of it.
All right, cool. Thanks, everybody. Oh,
Real quick, what do you think of the new retail boards, like Galileo and I think there are a couple?
We'll comment on that when we talk about the Raspberry Pi, which is actually a computer with an operating system. And then you mentioned the Raspberry Pi, there is the Arduberry, which is a Raspberry Pi shield that plugs in to an Arduino. So you have the computer download the new game built into the system with communication to the outside world, the whole operating system. So you can tell it when to burn a new ROM and change the embedded program in the game without having to take it out, put it on the computer, and hook it up. So you can build the whole thing into the device, so you reprogram it wireless. Okay. But the computers, the Raspberry Pi thing is a whole another aspect of it. We're just doing the things.
All right, cool.